What's happening YouTube? More motivation, back for another video. I came across let's not get so much in our bubbles we start to say ignorant things, and let's not also be so much in our bubble we're willing to call somebody insecure, a victim, or trying to gain attention because they're stating a fact. Just because you're going through what you're going through doesn't mean that other people don't go through something that you don't have to go through. Just because I'm around people that are rich, wealthy, financially stable doesn't mean that there's no poverty. Just because I'm in a first world country with lots of food, water, shelter, and a lot of resources doesn't mean that there isn't locations with no food, no shelter, less resources. Just because I'm in a safe environment, safe neighborhood, doesn't mean that there's no unsafe neighborhood, hoods, or locations out there. And to this topic here, just because you're around a couple of CEOs and nurses and billionaires and all that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. You cannot speak on something without context and without empathy. Don't be so much in your bubble, you lose that. And don't be also so much in your bubble, you don't appreciate what you have. Because I always tend to see individuals that seem to have privilege don't know that, don't actually recognize that they have it, and they don't appreciate the fact that they have it. How do I know that? By making statements like that. We cannot reduce ourselves to this, folks. Reduce ourselves to being unappreciative for what we have and trying to shame people for stating the fact. You cannot state the fact without not being called a hater. You cannot state the fact for anything without being called a victim. You cannot state a fact or a boundary without being called insecure. What is going on? We have to be better. When you have so much privilege, when you don't really have to do much for minor things, you don't really see it. You don't really see what somebody else has to go through that doesn't have that same privilege. You understand what I'm saying? We cannot reduce ourselves to that. Being a victim means that based on that information, you are doing nothing about it. You're not putting any effort to be the anomaly. You're not putting any effort to be the individual not of the fair race, to be in such a position that it's overlooked. You know what I'm saying? So you basically have to be a superhero. That's the easiest way I can explain that. That's when you're not being a victim. And insecure, letting something control your emotions to the point you're doing irrational things, that's insecurity. Or imposing your limitations on others, that's insecurity. So what about stating a fact is insecurity? Or what about stating a fact is being a victim? We need to stop. We need to be better as people. We need to be more appreciative for what we have. Being attractive also is a privilege. Being in a certain profession is a privilege. You think the person that is homeless will have more privileges than the police officer? You're delusional if you think that. You think the CEO of the military versus the private, who do you think has more privilege? Despite the color. But when it comes to that particular topic, you cannot speak on it without empathy, and you cannot speak on it if you haven't experienced it. It plays a factor. It plays a factor. We have to get outside of our own bubbles. My strong encouragement is to travel, to be around different environments, different people. Because you being in your safe neighborhood, you got your cooked meals, you're comfortable, you got your billionaire CEOs, all that around you. That's all you see. So you're in that box. So there's certain things that you say and exude that demonstrate that unappreciation for what you have. We can't reduce ourselves to that. Me traveling a couple of years ago to the Dominican Republic, to a couple of South American countries, really gave me a lot of context on what I thought before versus what I think now. As far as privilege, as far as basic necessities, as far as safety, poverty, it changed my perspective. So we have to get outside of our own bubbles. And we cannot be so much in our bubbles and have so much ego to the point we're willing to say somebody is a victim, say somebody is insecure for stating a fact. I don't understand how that works. The insecure one comes in relationships when women try to say that so that they can control you. The victim one, you see that a lot in when it comes to race topics. You know, I'm not understanding, folks. A victim is somebody that does nothing about it. Someone insecure is somebody that imposes their limitations on others. Stating the fact doesn't make you insecure. Stating the fact actually puts the information out there for somebody to take and use. The information is great. Doing something about it is even better. Knowing where I stand is good. Doing something about it is better. You think in the working world there's no privilege? Chinese, for example, they will be more likely to be hired. You're probably laughing, but it's true. In dating, who is more likely to have short-term relationships? What race? Don't be ignorant. Don't play this game with me where like, oh, I don't know, it could be anyone, but don't play with me. You know what race, and you know why. So it plays a factor for many things, from dating to work. This is not about that, but this is just to give you context. Get outside of your own bubble. Get outside of your own bubble. Don't get to a point you call somebody a victim, you call somebody insecure, you call somebody names for stating the fact, to escape some sort of accountability. And that accountability really is appreciating what you have, because what you have somebody else would die for. They would. So just because you're in a rich environment, you're around CEOs, you're in a safe environment, doesn't mean that there's not unsafe environments where the struggle for basic things that you have. Let's take a moment to really cherish what we have, appreciate it, and every now and then step outside of our own bubbles, develop empathy. In the first world country, we slowly lose it because of how much things we have at our disposal. We waste food, we waste water. It's heartbreaking to see. And we're so bored at times. We find things to complain about. We find things to trigger. Anyways, this video is to give you context. It's to get you to think about things. And it's also to get you to get outside of your own bubble every once in a while, to build more wisdom. That's the best way to do it. You only know what you know. Step outside of that comfort zone. Step somewhere else. Gain more perspective. That way you can have more empathy. Anyways, that's it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. Like, share, subscribe, stay tuned for more videos. God bless.